ẹni àtijọ́ ẹ káalẹ́ o ṣàlàáfíà ni gbogbo yín wà ẹ káalẹ́ ẹ káàbọ̀ sí sórí ètò yìí I think Lord Jesus have mercy. Àwọn tó sọ mí ní Abisola honestly ó yẹ kó rethink orúkọ yẹn ṣe máa fún yàn lórúkọ Yorùbá make you the person can speak the darn Yoruba language. Right? Make sure the person can speak the language. Then I'll put your local. A cowboy story to you. What's going on, people? Hello, Illinois Sanctuary. Hello, Igbo Proud. Hello, how are you? Good evening, ma'am. How has your day been? There's some people I know, their username, and they're my people. They're like my personal persons. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Come on in. Say hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Igbo Proud. How are you doing, ma'am? Hello, God bless child. How are you? Alpha. Yeah. Y'all have a murder trial next week. Oh, Lord Jesus. Oh, yeah. I have a murder trial next week. It is like, it's not even a roller coaster. How did that fly get into my room? No, it's gonna not anyone would be like is anyone like me? I was gonna say anyone would be like me. That's not right in English. Is anyone like me that when something catches your eye or you see something out of the corner of your eye, your OCD kicks in and it really, really bugs your brain until it's gone? And so right now I'm looking at that fly, I'm like, should I get up? Should I not get up? Hello, God's favorite. Let me see. TJ. TJ, can you get your brother, please? Tell your brother to come. So it's gonna bug my brain. That's my kid is graduating high school on Friday. I cannot believe how I'm telling y'all. I remember when he started kindergarten like yesterday. I ain't even kidding. 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕, and I was pregnant with TJ. I was pregnant with this mouthy one then. And he was, I thought he was going to cry. I was the one who ended up crying because I was, you're not getting on. I'm not showing your face. I just need you to help me look. See that fly? It's going to bug your mama's brain. That's his voice, y'all. Can you say hi? Everybody can hear you. Hi. Right there. You see it? Yeah. Thank you. Can you get like a paper towel? Yeah, it's gonna be because you know your mom. So I'm telling you, thank you. It feels like I'm sure some of y'all have kids in graduate high school. This is my firstborn child, and I'm like, how in God's name did 18 years go by so fast that he's 18, and how in God's name that 12 years, 13 years in kindergarten go by so fast? But thank you, Jesus. God has been faithful. 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. You got it? Don't mess up my white wall. Thank you, kiddo. You too. True talk. True story. So today, actually before today, his dad and I were talking like, okay, well, a lot of people should feel koruko. They have to. Oh, really? Congratulations, Miss E. Congratulations to you as well. It is amazing. I mean, I'm telling you, it's just like, wow, college, here we come. I remember the day he first started driving, I was like, I'll be damned. Like, I've been driving this kid everywhere. How can it possibly? Like today, I was at work. I had to be in court because I have a criminal case, a murder case coming up. So I was in court. I was at work for a while, and he helped me do grocery shopping. So I didn't have to. I came home, and not only did he do grocery shopping, but every single thing was already put. I was asking him, like, how in God's name do you know where your mama puts everything? Because I've lived with you all my life. So it's like, so you've been stalking me, kid? I'm like, stalking me? I'm like, oh, I wish. But grocery was done. Everything put back in place. Brother keep taking care of it. I mean, thank you, Jesus. So we've been wondering that, okay, how they going to, because they call their full names and middle names, how they going to get all his names? And is that like I if they mess up my kid's name, Yeah. But today, I'm going to call from the lady who's going to be the master of ceremony for the graduation. Goes, Miss Oleg, I know that it's good timing because I have to make sure, and I know how very particular you are with their names, and I'm calling you to make sure that you can help me pronounce with the pronunciation of his name. And it was funny. I was like, I've been waiting for your call. She goes, I bet you have. And it's got this person was 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. So I had to literally write an email and then break it down, like put hyphen. You know how you break African names, like okay, 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕, and then like SE, but it's pronounced SHE, not she, but shea, like shea butter. She goes, you know what, just email it to me. And then she recorded, hello, Epic Movement. She recorded me saying the pronunciation of his full name. So fingers crossed, William. Fingers crossed, like, yeah. She's like, oh, she want me to sound what I'm like. She's like, I'm going to need you to record that and email it. And hold on, actually, I'm going to put your recorder on and put you on speakerphone. And please say it slowly 2 times. And I said, okay. So, unless y'all know how it goes, better not mess with my kid's name. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's if I can pronounce your name, pronounce my name. But anyway, hi everyone. This is Attorney 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕 Olaleye. I am an immigration attorney based in Alabama, representing immigration clients in all 50 states. Got an immigration case. If it's a case style that we handle, we can and do represent immigration clients in all 50 states. Contact number is 334. Let me take a break. 334-341-4475. You can email aos@olalayelawfirm.com. Excuse me. You can also, thank you, Elena Sanctuary. I was waiting on that because I know you got that. Send a text to the same number, 334-341-4475. Our general email is info@olalayelawfirm.com. WhatsApp, same number. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at Olaleye Immigration, all platforms. I would greatly appreciate that. And welcome on board. Let's talk immigration. What are we talking about tonight? So let us talk about, will my interview be waived? Question I've gotten almost every day. How do I know if my case is going to qualify for an interview waiver? When should I expect that my case is going to qualify for an interview waiver? Whose case, has a higher chance of having their interview waived? Let's talk about that. Okay. Say slowly, 334-341-4475. Yes, I do represent immigration clients in all 50 states. So yes, I can represent people in Texas. So let's talk. Now, USCIS, now more than ever, I've said it several times, they are waiving interviews for marriage-based cases as well as VA cases. More than ever. Actually, VA cases have always been, in the sense of, for the most part, because keep in mind, marriage-based cases, interviews are usually attached. A lot of people will get, you'll get an interview notice under your I-485 receipt number, and it would have the I-485. However, your interview basis is tied to, in a regular marriage case, it's tied to the I-130. The I-130 is the basis by which you are having to prove that your marriage was entered into in good faith. And that's where you need all the, bank statements, photographs, lease agreement, marriage certificate, affidavits, all of that. All that is attached to the I-130. I-130 is what you're proving good faith for. However, it is a combined interview in the sense of, once that is approved, if you have no inadmissibility issues, then for the most part, your 485 would also be approved because you are the one applying for adjustment of status. So your interview notice comes under that. If you're filing a standalone I-130, then your interview notice will come under the I-130. I'm talking of in cases where you file a one-step adjustment of status case. So USCIS announced months ago that they are, because of the backlogs, one of the things they're doing to combat that is to actually waive interviews in some cases. And what cases will will have a higher chance of having interviews waived. They have, if you go on USCIS.gov website, they actually have their recommendation suggesting that you include everything with your case. Include as much sufficient bona fide evidence with your case. And that doesn't just apply to a marriage, a one-step adjustment of status case. It is also applicable to an I-751 case, whether it be joint filing or self-petition, as long as you have included sufficient good faith evidence when it comes to a regular marriage case and joint filing I-751. In a self-petition I-751, you will need your good faith evidence in addition to your basis for a self-petition. If you're filing based on abuse, then you have good faith evidence and then your abuse evidence. If you're filing based on divorce, then you have good faith evidence and your divorce decree also included. If you're filing based on extreme hardship, you don't actually need good faith evidence for extreme hardship. It's the most difficult self-petition ground to get approved, but that's the only ground you don't need good faith evidence, but you need evidence of your extreme hardship. Hardly would you ever get that interview waived. That's just my experience. So if you submit as much sufficient evidence as possible with your adjustment of status case, with your I-751 case, then you increase your chances of having an interview waived. Another thing I've seen is if you've never filed an adjustment of status application or I-130 one-step application before, you have a higher chance of having your interview waived than someone who has already been in the system, meaning you have applied, USCIS has denied your case, either because of a divorce decree issue, because they did not find a sufficient evidence, or because you had filed previously with your spouse and the scheduling for a Stokes interview and your case was still denied. When you refile, you are most likely going to be scheduled for an interview because of your previous case. So those who actually have a higher chance of having interviews waived in their cases are those who have never had any case filed. But if you've had a case filed, but it has nothing to do with good faith evidence, there wasn't any what's the word I'm looking for? Suspicion about whether or not your marriage was entered into in good faith or was just for the purposes of getting an immigration benefit. You have those people who don't have those prior history have a higher chance of having your interview waived. Include everything: birth certificate, the basic initial evidence, and then everything else you need to support your medical report that's been signed and sealed. You have your lease agreement, you have your joint bank statements, if you have children together, big evidence. Have that included as well. But if you've had any denial in your history, there is a higher chance that you will have interview not waived in your case. So those that we're seeing, especially in my firm, those that I'm seeing that have their interviews waived are those where we put together the packages. We tell a story. I tell a story. If you are my client, when you get your copy of your file tells a story. Because the whole point of having interview waived is so you don't have to go tell your story again in front of an immigration officer. So your documents, your evidence has to tell your story on your behalf. You're not there. They're going to take your file and say, hey, looking at this file, do we see or can we have a narrative that tells us that these people are actually carrying on as husband and wife or as partner, whatever the case may be? That's the whole point. So put together a case where you have your forms, you have your filing fee, you have your forms, or you have your fee waiver, you have your forms, you've got your initial evidence, and you've got, another thing that gets most people have the cases denied or RFE is if you do not properly complete an I-864 affidavit of support form, then you are extending your wasting your time. You're going to get an RFE. If you still do not properly complete it, USCIS will deny your case. I-864, what I do is I include, you don't need the last three taxes. You just need the taxes, which is the basis by which your I-864 information is based. So say, for instance, everyone should have filed their 2022 taxes. Well, I haven't filed mine. I have an extension because let's just leave that alone. And myself and Uncle Sam, we're going to deal with that later, before October. But for the most part, most people have gotten their 2022 taxes filed. So your most recent tax year will be 2022. You have that information in your 864. You have your tax returns, complete tax returns. You also have your W-2s that actually match your tax returns. And then the petitioner also has the most recent pay stubs. If you're a self-employed person, you have a profit loss statement, or you have 1099s, whatever it is that shows your income source, so that your case is complete. Now, the craziness that USCIS is doing is even in spite of having a well-executed, signed, completed 864, somehow some people in USCIS just do not understand what's going on. They look at the file and say, yeah, I don't feel like looking through this file. Oh, 864 is missing. Even if you have it complete, don't let that frustrate you. Because some people are frustrated in USCIS. That's all I can think of. But just resend it. One other thing I do, and this is a tip for whoever needs it. When you send an I-864, meaning you're the petitioner or the joint sponsor, print out a copy of the I-860 poverty guidelines based on, the income. The minimum income is based on the number of people in the household. So print that out, highlight how many people in the household of the joint sponsor or petitioner, and also highlight the minimum income required, and let your cover letter state that this person makes at the minimum or higher than what the minimum for the number of people in the household is, so that you make it so easy. You make it like kindergarten level for them. Don't see any reason for them to say, because I think USCIS is the reason why my hair is gray. But let's just leave that alone. So those who have never had any issues with USCIS, those who include everything in the kitchen sink, give them as much evidence as you possibly can, include your medical report as well, sealed medical report, you are going to increase your chances of having your interview waived. If you file a 751 petition, put in all your good faith evidence. Do not leave anything out, because the whole point, yes, the whole point is you're trying to not let them waste your time to come in and have to take time from work and all of that. Increase your chances of having your interview waived. Now, if you have, here's one thing I wanted to take you. If you hear nothing else, please hear this. If you have filed, if you filed, and if you came into the country and you indicated that you were married when you applied for your non-immigrant visa, whether it be your student visa or visitor visa, but you indicated on your DS-160 that you were married, but you were not legally married, right? And then you come into the country, apply for adjustment status, or apply for VA, whatever the case may be, and then you forgot that you had indicated you were married, and in your application you said, no more married, like, this is my first marriage. You will have an interview scheduled, guaranteed. Why? Because you cannot say you were married at the time you applied for your visitor visa, then come into the country, apply for adjustment status for a green card, and forget that you had indicated the marriage in the previous application, and then in your green card application you said, I've never been married before. U.S. government keeps your entire record. From the first time you make contact with the U.S. government, they've got your record. So they will pull up your history, especially if you were African. I'm just telling the truth. Well, let me pull up our record. Like, oh, okay. So you said you were never married, or you were married, but now when you filled your green card, you said this is your first marriage. Okay, you're going to get an interview notice. You will be summoned for an interview. And that is basically a basis to have, for them to allege you being inadmissible based on fraud and or misrepresentation. So It is always wise to remember what you said when you applied for your visitor visa. Very, very wise to remember what you said, because it will come back and bite you. Just saying. So, like for instance, I had a case where I can count on one hand how many cases, like, well, Mr. G's case was his green card, VAR-based green card was approved today without interview. We filed this just to put in, so he had filed the VAR case before we took that over. So his VAR was approved, and then we filed the green card application last year, July. And we got an RFP for the medical. Not for the medical. We sent it to medical. We got an RFP for long form birth certificate. Sent that in. I forget. But anyway, his case was approved today. That's what matters. No interview. For the most part, VAR-related cases are not scheduled because you've already proven your good faith with the I-360, all your evidence you send in. So for the most part, they will send you an RFP for the medical if you haven't sent that in, whatever the case may be. But I had a case that was scheduled for an interview, VAR-related. We've already, and keep in mind that, thank you, God bless y'all. Keep in mind, I'm so happy for him because listen, this year is his year. I was talking to him earlier today, and I was in court when that alert came in, and I was like, I told everyone, like, my client just got his green card. The judge is like, what does that mean? You gotta understand that. I mean, small town Alabama. Like, how many? I can count on one hand. I mean, it was weird. Well, maybe not one hand, but African immigrants in my area. So I have to count my ex-husband. Listen, if you just put in Dr. Olale, rural health Mississippi, yes, you'll see his face. Like how many people? Yeah. Then the name, they can't even pronounce the name, so they already know if he wasn't sitting in, then it's got to be related to SG and TJ. So ex-husband, myself. Hey, Miss Savannah, how you feeling? You're back. Well, you didn't miss. Well, I think you missed some. What you already know. We've already started. So my ex-husband, myself. Okay, Dr. D, Dr. K. Their wives, 6 people. I'm trying to think of African immigrants that are in this area that I know. I don't think we're up to 10. So anyway, the judge is like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's basically your permission to stay in the country. So, yeah, I don't understand. Like, I'm in a place where they don't really get it. They're the kind of people that will call ICE on you, kind of thing. Just saying, should be told. Because I've had some, Hispanic clients where I'm appointed for them as a criminal defense attorney, and the next thing we know, ICE has a hold on them. Who called ICE? Well, it's Alabama. Go figure. But anyway, so you have to understand that. I just remember something, but let's leave it alone. So I said, oh, my client just got his green card, and they were just really shocked. That was this year has just been a great year for him. I'm just so happy for him. But anyway, I digress. So this client got an interview notice, and I was like, so that's probably the third one I'm getting. But it's like his case. And keep in mind, you are already showing that you had a qualifying relationship with a VAR case. So the VAR petition was approved, and you have to show a qualifying relationship with a VAR case. We got that approved. No issues, right? And they've got an interview notice. And I'm thinking, why would they schedule an interview in a case that is so straightforward like this? Very straightforward case. There's no reason for any interview to be scheduled. And so I met with him and I go, Mr. A, when you applied for your visitor visa, what was the marital status that you indicated? And as soon as I asked him that question, he smiled. I was like, I'll be damned. I was like, that's why you were scheduled for an interview. He goes, why? Because you said you were married, and we filed a VAR, before we filed the VAR, he had filed regular adjustment status, somebody else represented him on. So things happened in the marriage, had to convert to a vow. That's where I came in. And so he already filed that he wasn't married. We met. He said, I've never been married. Okay, all right, all well and good. And then I'm not just getting to know that if I didn't ask him, he wouldn't have said anything. And I go, I'll be damned. Thank you. And then it's like, he says, so how did you know, sister lawyer? I'm like, that's the only thing that makes sense. He goes, so you think that's the reason? I'm like, I can guarantee you 99, I'll never tell you 100% anything. 99.999999%. That's the reason why you're scheduled for an interview. Everything else is straightforward. Nothing else looks out of place. I was like, that's the reason you're scared. I'm like, oh shoot. I cussed a lot, sorry. And he goes, so what are we going to do? I'm like, we've got to try to come up with some argument that kind of makes sense. So lo and behold, we had the interview. And I said, this is how your interview is going to go. They're going to ask you about your basic information, if there's anything changing your form and all that. And it's going to ask you this question: how many times have you been married? And you're going to have to say once, because you've never been married more than once. And I go, that's going to be the problem, because it's going to tell you that when you apply for a visitor visa from your home country, you indicated married. Well, then again, me so but my mom tells me, 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸. So just a word is enough for the wise. Be careful. Just saying. But as soon as we got there, he went through the basic information, yada, yada, yada. And the next thing I literally texted him. I go, he's going to ask you how many times you've been married. You're going to have to answer truthfully. Not even a minute. I guarantee you guys, not even a minute. The next question he says was, so how many times have you been married? And he goes, once. And he goes, so I'm not talking about just in the United States. In your home country, any other country, how many times? That's once. But when you apply for your visitor visa, you said you had been married. You were married at the time. So it's like, okay. And I go, well, officer, and he goes, Counsel, you can answer the question. I'm like, I'm with. You can't answer. This is not your interview. I know it's not my interview. That's what I told him. But there is a legal reasoning for it. He goes, no, I need him to answer that question first, and you can tell me. So he answered, and then I made my argument that this is why he indicated. And then he went for it. But this is, you also indicated married in this other application. It's like, oh, shit. So what is the moral of the story, people? Remember what you said in your DS-160. If you get an interview scheduled and you had a rock solid case, great evidence, everything has been sent in, and you get scheduled for an interview, think back about what you put in your previous immigration applications, because that may be a reason why they will schedule you for an interview. Other than that, send in everything you possibly can, whether it be your marriage-based case, whether it be a conditional residency petition to remove the condition to residency, either joint filing or self-petition. But even if you have everything in, keep in mind, however, there are some USCIS field offices that it doesn't matter what the policy is, because they're not mandated to waive interviews. It is discretionary, meaning they have a choice. So there are some field offices, especially smaller ones, that probably will still schedule you for an interview, regardless of how strong your case is. That's just because that's your practice. Either way, increase your chances of having your interview waived by, based on, is this your first time? How strong is your evidence? Does your evidence tell a story? What have you applied for in the past? Have you been denied in the past? Those are factors that will be considered when USCIS is deciding whether or not to waive the interview in your marriage-based case. And that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote. Okay, people. Let us go to questions. Hey, kiddo. In this house, I'm telling you. Hey, Miss Werther, how are you? Hey, Dylan, what's going on? Y'all don't have a lot of questions on YouTube and Facebook today. Okay, that's good. Let us go to, what's my glasses? Let us go to TikTok. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here we go. No, not that. If you've worked legally, can you combine your income with your spouse for I-864? So there's a part where you can also put in the intending immigrant's income, as long as you are working legally, and that source of income will continue after you've been granted a green card. So as long as you meet the conditions and you just read the instructions yourself, you can never go wrong when you read the instructions for the form. So as long as you meet the conditions, then you should be fine. Let's see. How soon can I apply I-130 petition for family after asylum granted? What you need to apply is to fill out is the I-730, not I-130. Thank you, Cute Candy. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see. Delia, thank you. Amen. And your family as well. When to file citizenship application, as I have green card since October 2019, depending on whether or not you're married to a citizen, whether or not you how you got your green card to start with. If you got your green card, if you're married to a citizen, you're still married to that citizen, you got your green card based on a VAWA petition, and your abuser is a citizen or was a citizen, you got your green card through conditional residence. You got your 10-year green card based on 751 abuse. Then all those circumstances, you're eligible to file for citizenship after 3 years as a legal permanent resident. Other than that, then you have to wait for 5 years as a legal permanent resident. You represent people in Atlanta. I represent immigration clients in all states. If you have a conditional green card, can your spouse report you to USCIS? Can your spouse report you? Short answer, yes. Now, disclaimer, this is just general information, nothing specific to anybody's case. And my lawyers are no, we ain't doing that. So the general information, nothing about your case, just, yeah. So can your spouse report you? Yes, that happens every day. Like, that's just, people get angry. They feel like, especially when, the marriage doesn't work, you're dating somebody else. And they feel you use them for a green card. The next best thing they can do as far as revenge, there's nothing like a woman scorned, and it goes both ways. Is to pick up the phone and say, hey, this person fraudulently used me to get a green card and all that. But USCIS still has to give you a chance to rebut that allegation. So they won't let you know, but it may be in your file. So that when you now file a petition to remove the conditions in residency, they're going to compare and see if whatever that person claims to have happened has any credibility to it. So so they can, but it doesn't mean that they would wait. But if your spouse is mistreating you and you have a conditional residency card, then you have the option. Keep in mind that if you are not filing jointly with your spouse when you're filing your I-751, then you do not have to wait for 2 years. You can file your 751 at any time once you're filing a self-petition. The only requirement to wait 2 years after you get your 2-year green card is if you're filing jointly with your spouse. If USCIS sends for initial evidence for your I-45, what do they need? You have to wait to see what they're asking you for. How do I go about changing my status from F1 visa if I get a company that wants to sponsor me? Yes, sit down with a lawyer. After getting prima facie determination, what's next? Waiting. You're gonna be waiting. If you haven't gotten your E80, most likely that will come. The funny thing is, see how life works. Last year, I was, going crazy because my dear Miss Pam, her E80 was taking forever. Everybody was getting E80 left and right. I was like, what the heck is happening? Long story short, as we speak, Miss Pam has 2 E80s, double for her trouble. So it's like, then I have another client who, I don't know what's going on USCIs. I have a client who USCI just issued yet another E80 for him. But I have a client who's been a year. We've sent God knows how many emails of the months that we sent. They've already told me we got your email. Don't send another one. This guy just got the third E80 sitting on my floor right here. The third E80 on the same darn application. Just the only thing that's different is they're approving it at different dates. So there has to be a glitch in your system. Something is going on. And I called him like, you got a third E80. He goes, what's going on? If I can figure out USC, I think I wouldn't have figured them out all this while. But here we are. So can I adjust status by married to a citizen if I worked without permission? Generally, as long as you came in legally, overstay and working without authorization when you're married to a citizen are exempt. I had my interview 2 years ago and still got nothing. You can call USCIS. You can also do a congressional assistance request. You can do an ombudsman inquiry, which is the supervisory level of USCIS. You can send them a demand letter. If all of that fails, then you can sue USCIS. Okay, a lot of questions just got dumped. I'm not really sure why TikTok does that. Let's see. Oh shoot. Okay. I won't be able to get all questions. I think we'll do questions on Thursday. Depending on how much I have prepped for my. Okay, this is where I stopped. Jeff Paul, go ahead and ask your question. Okay, you came to the US, but you don't have an I-94. That is not a problem. It depends on what you're filing. That would depend on if you entered illegally or undocumented, as I like to say. Just depends on what it is you're filing, and there's some things you may be eligible for. So I would say consult with a lawyer. My husband is filing for me and my kids. Are we the derivative applicants or the principal? Is your husband a citizen? Is your husband a green card holder? Trinell, consult with a lawyer. EB4 religious work and visa bulletin. Go to if you go on my website, olalayalawfirm.com, I have links to all of these things. It's very, very straightforward. So go to olalayalawfirm.com and processing times, USCIS news, visa bulletin. If you click on the resources tab, you'll have all of that information there. I want to apply for VAL, but I have a pending I-130. Do I have to start all over again? Basically, yes, that's the truth. But because you have an I-130, your priority date on that is going to be transferred to your VAL case. And that kind of like bumps you up the ladder, as I like to say, or the line. So If I send in, if okay, let me rephrase your question. You sent in your papers, you got receipt notice in 2 weeks. Does that mean processing it as normal? It just means you got your receipt notices in 2 weeks. That's what it means. Okay. Is there any way someone can get documents through an autistic channel? Sit down and discuss your options for asylum and see. How fast is N400 going right now? It depends on where you are and the field office that has jurisdiction over your case. There's some field offices that you can get your citizenship from time of filing to you become a citizen in about 2 months, and there's some it's about a year. It just depends. A lot of factors go into that. Jennifer, we just sent off vacation. So scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Okay. I have I-130 pending. USCIS says I should not do anything, but my asylum work permit almost expired. So what's your question? Can an H4 holder travel, H4 visa holder travel in and out of the states while visa are still valid, or there are conditions to travel? So it's not about your visa being valid. And I always say that people should understand that it's one thing for you to have a valid visa. It's another thing for you to have a valid status. You can have a visa that is good for 5 years, but your I-94 may only be for 2 years. So, you have to know what. So I-94 duration is what controls you staying in the country. But if you're traveling outside the country and you're okay, so for instance, just using your example, H4, say for instance, you get a visa that is valid, that's approved for 5 years, right? H4 is a derivative beneficiary of an H1B. Your H1B spouse they're employed and the employer has them for 3 years, but they decide, we're no longer sponsoring you, and so the job ends. The fact that you have a valid visa that is still good for 5 years doesn't mean, and it becomes irrelevant when that job no longer exists. So I hope that helps. But if the job still exists, it depends on the I-94 that was issued. If that state of change of status happened in the country now, because H1B is usually for 3 years and then 3 years and then maximum of 6 years, but there are exceptions, just like there's exceptions to every rule. So that's something you should sit down with a lawyer to discuss and make sure you are doing the right thing before you leave. Had an asylum interview 2 weeks ago, now waiting on decision while I had a pending file. I would suggest underscore boy and small boy, because that's the name of someone that's very, very dear to me. I would suggest that you contact your asylum. Did you tell them? What I would have done would have been to ask them to reschedule your asylum interview or to hold your asylum case in advance, based on the fact that you had a pending VAW case. If they grant that, they won't be able to refer to immigration court or have it scheduled or rescheduled based on the fact that you want to see what will happen in your VAW petition. But if they haven't made a decision, then you can still ask them to, not make a decision yet, hold that and let you see how the VAW case turns out. Okay, let me go to Instagram. Olushos, hello. Eleanor Sanctuary, that's my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. Hello, God's favorite. How are you? We are plenty with that OCD. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's something. Yes, graduation week month generally, really, because I think there's some schools that don't even some up north. I think y'all up north, most schools don't even get let out for the school year until June. So I'm thinking graduation will be after Memorial Day, but in the South, most people are done in May. Hello, Epic Movement. How are you? Yes, represent immigration clients in all 50 states, 334-341-4475. How long does it take to get a green card after you've approved? It just depends. There's a lot. It depends on if you filed your green card at the time you filed your VA case. Did you submit your what's it called, your medical? I know Mr. G's one that got approved. That was pretty fast, but it just depends on what's in your background as well. Do you have something in your immigration history? Because keep in mind that the good thing about getting VA approved is you also get deferred action. And that the whole point of the deferred action is you cannot be placed in removal proceedings while you have that. And so even if there's a problem with your 485, and they deny that, or you're waiting for a waiver or whatever, as long as you have the deferred action is still in place, they cannot place you in removal proceedings. So there's just a whole lot that goes into how long your green card will take. How do I represent someone charged with murder? Defend them? I don't know. I do criminal defense, and I love it. I do love it. It's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's similar to immigration in the sense that people's freedom is on the line. Because with immigration status, you're either in or out. Although you're not in prison, you're not, but it's kind of similar, but obviously that gives you a criminal record if you're found guilty. Listen, I don't know. I just chose practice areas that are very, very dramatic, because I don't do drama in my personal life. If you are someone with drama, no, miss me with that one. Keep it moving. I don't do it. I don't. So if you're invited for an interview, it is not a good thing. That's not what I said, Odiachi Stephen. That's not. Did anybody hear me say it's a bad thing if you're in your schedule? Because I said it, that there are some field offices that it is their practice to schedule an interview regardless of how strong your case is. Please replay this video once we're done. Okay. Listen, anyways, no. I'm not saying, she said, Miss, it's hilarious. She said, Miss Admira, you miss his hilarious in her son's school. They mispronounce his name. No. But then again, let's just say that they better not mispronounce my son's name. I will be taking a video because if they mispronounce my son's name, Koda, they don't. It's not that. It's Kini. Don't mispronounce his name. All I'm saying. Yes, all the African aunties were there to show their support. Cause and I was asking him. I said, "You gotta love my kid." I said, "So, do you ever think of why in God's name did my? Because he's got his like if you're Nigerian or African, our names usually have meanings. Most of the time, they have to do with God or something positive, and so and each of them have a biblical name as well. So SJ has Samuel, and Samuel is my maiden name. Samuel is also, but I actually picked out Samuel because that That was my story when I was pregnant with him. And Samuel means I asked him of the Lord. But that's the most simple name he has. And I was like, do you ever think of, okay, why in God's name did my parents give me all these long names? Like, why y'all do that in Africa? And my kid says, no, because the names, the meaning of my names are very powerful. And so that's what matters. I must be doing something right. I'm telling you. It's like, oh, say no more. Heading to niece's graduation on Monday, and we'll be screaming our lungs out. You better believe it. When we're going to be using Nigerian flag, so you use Ghana. We're all the same. We're just screaming African kids. Because I was saying, like, do y'all know that so they're called, if you have a kids here, and you're an immigrant like we are, they're called first generation Americans. They're like, bad twist anything. It's Nigerian blood in there. Because if I go to the embassy now and we apply for a passport, they will give the Nigerian passport. So call them anything you want them to be called. First generation, second, third, fifth generation, they're Nigerians as well. Or if you, has anybody ever seen this where they'll go American kids born to Nigerian immigrant parents? I'm like, okay. I like, yeah, I try. American kids born to Nigerian immigrant parents. Oh, okay. You have to make that distinction, right? It's like, people. God's favorite, I'm telling you, you forget that visa application and it comes to hunt you like 200 years later. Please don't forget that. It is part of your record. Everybody should at least at one point do a FOIA request. Very, very important. Talking of FOIA, I just remembered, where's my pen? Somebody that I have to, where's my post-it note? Y'all already told you if you want to give me a birthday gift, it's post-it note. Okay, just remember the FOIA that I have to submit. And that lady as well. Okay. God's favorite says, sometimes you think DS16 is all jokes until your village people come knocking again. Yeah. Asylum pending interview. No, they don't waive asylum pending interview. No. What will make USCIS approve an I-485 and retract or revoke it? I don't know. They would let you know why. In an asylum-based case, when is SSN assigned? After the work authorization was approved and card, usually, yes, it's not just asylum, but usually once you apply for work authorization, and you check that, do you want them to issue your social security number card upon approval of this work authorization application? If you select yes, for the most part, they will send that to you. Thank you, Miss Eleanor Sanctuary. Having had a case where petitioner passed and I-130 was converted to, I have quite a number of those. What I usually do in those, because USCIS will not know that the petitioner has passed. So we inform them that the petitioner has passed, and here is the law that says that it automatically converts, and please convert this to a widow's petition. TJ. Kid. You think you can keep it down, son? Huh? Where you busting now? What is it that you're doing?
It's just bubble wrap.
Not keep in mind. That's a life of our family. I'm telling you, everybody is. You gotta eat this. There's no one I've met that doesn't love TJ. I'm just glad he's my second child, not my first child. If you get a divorce while waiting on a decision for your petition to remove conditions on your residency, are you obligated to notify USCIS of the divorce, or do you wait for the interview? You are obligated to let them know that you have been divorced and you're converting to a divorce petition, because there is a possibility that they're going to waive and interview your case. The problem you want to avoid is having your 10-year green card approved based on a joint petition, but there was no longer any qualifying relationship at the time of approval, because you would now encounter an issue when you apply for citizenship. So waiting for update on VA after prima facie since VA takes 3 years. I have clients too who emailed me. VA takes 3 years. Y'all have to be patient. Y'all have to be patient. VA takes, right now is 35 months, 33 or 35 months for processing the VA petition. So that's about 3 years. So if you've been waiting since March 2021, if you put in your priority date, you're probably going to be getting that the earliest that you can make increase sometime going to be end of next year. You know, you've got to be patient, people. Yeah, you have people who are like, because the next like I said, lawyer, already you are approved in 1 year. Keep in mind that's where the I-130 priority date comes into play. If you've had an I-130 that you were the beneficiary of, and say for instance, someone who had an I-130 filed for them in 2017, that's 6 years ago. If that person files for VA, their case is going to be processed faster than yours that you didn't have an I-130 filed for you before, and you filed yours in 2021, because 6 years, if it's taking them 3 years to process a VA case, someone had an I-130 priority date of 6 years ago, obviously their case is going to be processed faster than yours. That's just what it is, and that's where the benefit of having that comes into play. But it's now. Can I just my 20-year-old daughter's status with a 10-year green card? No. If she's out of status, no, she has to leave. If she's still within status, meaning she has a valid non-immigrant status, right now for the month of May, USCIS is using the dates for filing chart, and it is current. So it just depends. Prima facie expires in July. Is it automatically renewed? Yes. How can I qualify for an EB1? Sit down with a lawyer to find out if you have qualifications that make you eligible. How would USCIS verify a divorce in Nigeria that was done in 2009? See, those people have some complete BS that they're coming up with. To the point now that they said that even if we can verify your divorce online, we know that there are a lot of fraudulent documents that originate from Nigeria, so we still will question it. Literally, they put that in somebody's notice of intent to deny. And it's like, already have put you like last. It's like, okay, there's nothing you can do anymore. Yeah, I mean, what else? Thank you, God's favorite, for answering that. Okay, I gotta get up soon because I don't get in touch. I don't get in contact with USCIS and never answer the phone and respond to emails. When you call the toll-free number, and that automated woman comes on, say you want to make an InfoPass appointment. Say you want to, what's the other one I use? I forget. InfoPass appointment, and I can't remember. InfoPass appointment will work. Just say that and you get a live person. Okay, let's see. Submitted my VA application on April 20. Up to now, we haven't heard from USC. Is everything okay? That's no longer known. That's what, 3 weeks ago. I have a case that they just sent me after emails I filed second week in February, 3 months ago. I just got to receive notices today. But they're getting better. But listen, it's yeah. As long as I always say, make sure you send your applications in with trackable mail, have your tracking number, preferably have somebody sign for it. Today we sent out, I think we sent out 12 packages total. Well, 2 are not going to be signed for because they're PO box and they have tracking numbers anyway. I don't ever send anything out without tracking number. I must be able to track it. But there are some things, for instance, VA cases I never send out without it has to be signed for. Everything has to be signed. Unless I'm just sending supplemental evidence. On those ones I just use tracking numbers only. But if I'm sending out an initial application where I know I need to know that it was delivered and somebody signed for it, I know who signed for it, then I usually use I usually request signature. And there's the disclaimer. Yeah. Yep. Gotta say it. Yeah, TJ. Whoever says hi to he's already, I can hear him in the shower. Got my green card after being placed in removal proceedings. I want to travel home, but I'm somehow still scared. I hear a lot of stories at the port of entry on re-entry. Did you make sure that your proceedings are terminated? Because, if the court doesn't know, that's the one step you want to make sure that you take. Hey, Miss Shoini, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. How have you been? How long after receiving case transferred should person wait for prima facie VA was filed? February in case was transferred. Listen, I get all those alerts who transferred your case. I don't even worry myself because I'm still trying to figure out what's the word? I'm going to use that word. What the sense in doing all this craziness where we're filing in Nebraska, transferring back to Vermont. I'm still trying to figure out what sense it makes. That's just me. But then again, it's your SCIs. So okay, all right. And then I have a lot of folks now on YouTube and Facebook. Let me just run through that, and then I gotta go. We'll do questions on Thursday if I have finished my prep for my trial, because I have jury selection on Monday. You're welcome, Miss Merther. After EAD approval, how long is the wait for the I-360 to be approved? Forever? That's what I just heard earlier. It's not funny, but you guys, we've got to be patient. We've got to be patient. You don't have a choice, but and then in other news, I had another approval today. An I-130 was approved for a sweet little girl. Her dad filed for her. Now, when I tell you that Jesus still does miracles, believe me that Jesus still does miracles. Because they sent an RFE, and that's where I came in. And I'm telling you, nothing with Lord Jesus. They sent an RFE, and they specifically said the divorce decree was questionable. And so we needed to send in the decree and all that. We didn't send in anything different. We sent in the same thing. Oh, so it was terminated in court. Okay, so you're good to go. Why you have green card terminated in court? What the heck are you afraid of? Like what? Fire. I mean, what else? Jesus has completed your testimony. Why are you doubting again? He's completed your testimony. Why you putting doubt in what God has done? Huh? 𝒂𝒐𝒓. Jesus has completed your testimony. Why are you putting doubt? Why are you putting a question mark where he has put a period? He's done it. I was telling the client also, like, this lawyer, I remember me, she warning the mama she was qualified to file citizenship in November. Like, why are you questioning what God has completed? Why? So extensive. Why are you questioning what God has completed in your life? I understand the human flesh is gonna be afraid, but God has overridden all of that. And giving you your testimony, seal of completion. So we sent that in, and I explained that, hey, the reciprocity schedule says this is what we're supposed to submit for Nigerian divorce decree. The error in the name obviously is a typo. And sometimes I'm making an argument, and I may not. I'm reading it because I do my briefs myself, and I'm reading it back to myself like, I've been so much this Jesus is gonna have to come on this one because it wasn't gonna believe it. But I gotta put my mind has to be where I believe it, because if you don't, if you already accept defeat, what's the point of doing what you're doing? But anyway, that was the very first alert I got this morning. Woke up, USCI, I saw that number. I was like, oh look, I know that. I know that case so well. I know the number, because I have everybody's number, but sometimes I have to. We have a file, then I have to confirm, like, oh, okay, whose number is this, and it brings up. But as soon as I saw that email, I knew what case it was, and I was like, okay, let me see what it says. Because we approved your I-130 petition. I was like, I was like, hey, I already get like, huh? So I called a guy that a mentor is also an immigration lawyer, and he knows about this case. I'm like, remember this case? He goes, yeah. I'm like, they approved it. I want it. He goes, 𝒊𝒎𝒎𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. They approved it. He goes, did you get a certification from Nigeria? No. They approved it without the same divorce decree. Yeah. I'm like, just leave it alone. I didn't even put it on. I didn't give Lydia to post it. I'm like, hey, what are we posting to? Like, just leave that alone. We're posting. Just leave it alone. We're going to thank God. We're going to thank God. Let's just leave that alone. I was still posting, but I was like, okay, let me just take this in. And he was like, yeah, they approved it though. So let's just 𝒑𝒂𝒔𝒔𝒊𝒈𝒓𝒂𝒏𝒕. Still leave it alone. So listen, miracles still happen. Just saying. Okay, Cassiana, I think you just asked the same question on Instagram. Hello, Miss Creasy. How are you? How's my kid? I made a mistake by filing C31 E80. This is OA from my vow. And then I filed a C9 since January, but still have not received the receipt notice. Will I receive a notice, or I would just get my E80? OA, did you file it based on an I-485, or you just sent it just by itself? After submitting RFE for I-485, how long it takes to be approved? It just depends on the field office. It depends on if it's coming from the National Benefits Center, how long it's been pending. It just, what the RFE is for. There's just no set time. Say, yeah, this is. But for the most part, if the RFE was for medical, I've not seen any that's taken, knock on wood, more than 60 days. What does it mean when in VAL we approved your I-765 for I-360? We'll send you a notice. Does that mean VAL approve? I can't say yes or no because I don't know what you mean. Faith transfer the priority date. It is still the USCI's fault, because someone said in my attorney said that doesn't apply. No, there's nothing that says it doesn't apply anymore. It is still on their website. It is still their policy that you can transfer your priority date, and that actually helps your case go faster. If that policy changes, they would have put it on their website. It is still the policy, and it's right there on the USCI's.gov website. I would like to ask if changing the name of my spouse as father to the biological father, spouse as father to the biological father in the birth certificate of my baby, will that affect my vow application? My spouse is not the biological father of my baby, and I don't have a relation as well with the biological, but I want to get the rights of my baby. I would say sit down with a lawyer. Not only do you need an immigration attorney, what is the basis of your VAW application? So is I'm assuming you filed the vow application based on the married to your current spouse. So did you have a child while you were still married to your current spouse? Um, so would you, if that's the case, that may have a bearing on good moral character. Sit down with an immigration lawyer, and also as far as changing the name on the birth certificate, that's something you're going to have to discuss with a family law attorney in your state, because family law is, state specific. I can only represent immigration clients in any state when it comes to immigration cases. But this is not a yes or no answer to your question. This is something you sit down and figure out what exactly is the history behind your question to be able to get an answer. So that's what I would suggest. Okay, Miss Chrissy, asking for your friend. I know who the friend is, but it just depends. It just depends on. It depends on the is it coming from the National Benefits Center? Is it coming from the field office? And perfect. There's a lot that just goes into that. Can I bring my 15-year-old daughter in through visitor visa as a green card holder because I filed for her, but it was denied? You can't file a visitor visa for her. You can invite her to come visit, but you can file the visa just to apply herself. And then when she gets here, since she's 15, she is F2A based on that, as long as that is submitted when the priority date is still current. If she's able to get in, then you should be fine. But obviously, you're going to invite her. She's going to apply for the visa herself. Keep in mind that being that you've already had a case that was denied, that can be factored in whether or not they would grant the application. Can I travel to neighboring country with an advance for a while waiting on my son decision after? I don't ever advise to travel once you've had an asylum interview. If you've not had your interview, that's different. But once you've had your interview, I don't ever advise to travel. That's just me. Disclaimer, nothing about your case. This is just generally what I tell my clients. How long does Valve work for me take nowadays? Miss Toya says forever. It is. It takes forever. Anyway, all right, people. Thank you so much. 94 new questions on TikTok. It's not going to happen tonight. We'll try. I think we did questions last Thursday, so really it should be next. Okay, so next Tuesday, I don't think we will do because I may be in. Yeah, probably most likely we'll have a trial. So we'll see how next week goes. Never know. People come to court and decide to plead. I just don't know. We'll see. But we'll see how Thursday goes too. But anyway, thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate you guys always. I cannot do 97 questions on TikTok tonight. Not going to be tonight. But once again, if we can help you, thank you, Mr. Heaney, with your immigration case. Our contact number is 334-341-4475. Visit our website at olalayalawfirm.com. I appreciate you guys every single day. And as always, we'll always end with something positive. And thank you, Miss Chrissy, knowing that I love the space that we come together and we discuss our cases, we celebrate one another. We throw shades in good faith. It's not malicious in any way. Thank you, Ms. Ennis. Thank you, Louis Kemi. Thank you, Patience. It's not malicious in any way. It's just a good, positive. It is nothing like being able to thrive out of a positive foundation, a positive space, because it builds you up. If you're feeling down, I hope that when we come together, you feel rejuvenated, you feel re-energized, you feel recharged and motivated to keep going and not give up. Mr. G today, I remember when he came and met me last year and he was like, you know what, I just don't know what's going on. Like, hey, listen, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe truly that God puts people in our lives for a reason. There's no coincidence with God. If our paths cross, it's for a reason. It doesn't mean the reason has to benefit us, but we'll live and learn. And my prayer is, for the most part, that if your path crosses mine, that it is beneficial to both of us. That we're all, or if it's, that we learn something from it. But and I was telling him, like, you've got to exercise patience. I remember when he said, my friend, like, I don't. First of all, I don't do what another attorney does. Everyone practices in their own way, and I don't go off of my friend's cases. Doing no. So sometimes and I laid it out to, like, so ask your friend A, B, C, D, E. If you can get those answers to those questions, then we can have a conversation. By the end, I said, you've got to be patient. There is no delay that's going to be caused when God says this is the appointed time for your blessing. But it's not going to come earlier than God has ordained it to come. There's nothing you can do. If anything, lack of patience delays that. If God says, okay, you're not even ready for this amount of blessing, I'm just going to hold on until you can show me as my child that you've got the capacity to contain this that I'm about to bring your way. So I say that, in all of this, as much as we're anxious, we are, hopeful, and it's heart-wrenching and all that. We've got to exercise patience, knowing that it's not going to come earlier than God has intended it to come. It's not. I am the least patient person you've probably ever met. Until then, I had kids. And when you become a mother, you learn patience by force, by fire, by force. I still struggle with patience because I'm an instant gratification kind of person. So I understand, but I've also come to understand in my life, getting older, going on 45, that there's a lot that I've been able to achieve when I've stepped back, completely allowed God to be in control and say, you know what? You created me. You already know that this trait of mine is not going to help me. So I leave it all in your hands. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to take a back seat and let you do what you, God, know how to do best, which is to lead and to make things happen at your time. And so all of these that we're waiting on will happen at the time that God decides that it's going to happen. Are we going to be patient? Are we going to be hopeful and remain faithful while we wait? Because that's really what it comes down to. Because your blessing, the vision is for an appointed time. It shall surely come. It shall not tarry. It shall surely come. It shall surely. There's no lateness with God. But we have to understand that somebody's green card that was approved because we filed at the same time does not mean yours is going to be approved, because you don't know why God has delayed. Your blessing is not being delayed. It's just a timing that looks like it's being delayed. But there's a reason why God says it's not going to be this time, because there's a greater blessing that's coming with it. So I pray that we all continue to live and learn how to be patient and just wait on Him, because there's no perfect time like God's timing. I'll see you guys next time.